Hey guys, and cheater breakdown. UFC 303, Alex Pereira versus Yuri Prochazka for the light heavyweight title. This is the rematch. Last time out, maybe it was an early stoppage for Yuri, but I think Alex Pereira was going to end up winning that fight regardless. But it's good to see the rematch anyway. Originally, this was Conor and Chandler. Conor and Chandler I wasn't too enthusiastic about, if I'm being honest. I think maybe that's more for the casual fans that are wanting to see Conor at this stage of his career. And I would hate to see him lose to someone like Chandler as well, but it's not a big loss for someone like me. I'd rather see people at the top or wanting to break through and win a title rather than seeing someone who maybe shouldn't even be in there anymore. But respect, but that's not exactly, what I want to see as a hardcore MMA fan. Yeah, I'm changing up my studio at the moment. This is why everything's a bit out of order, but I'll get it sorted. Yeah. First fight of the main card, we have Ian Machado-Garry versus Michael Page. Really great matchup, I think, stylistically and the striking anyway. Ian obviously is still undefeated, which I keep thinking, what? He hasn't been beaten yet. I think he's been match made really well, but I also think that he's lived up to how good he says he is, and he's definitely made improvements. But in the striking, I definitely am curious to see how Ian goes against someone who's so long and rangy, because his opponents have tended to be people that are maybe not that type of fighter that Michael Page is. So it will be interesting to see how they match up. I kind of feel like Michael might get the better of him in the striking. Ian obviously has more of an all-rounded skill set. He has a black belt in judo, which I didn't know about. And he's been training down in shooter box, down with Oliveira. So he's going to be well prepared. But I'm still very curious to see how the striking goes and how Michael Page can maintain the distance and also maintain takedowns or any ground attacks from Ian Garry. I think the odds are pretty accurate just because Ian Garry is 26 and Michael Page is 37. So you think maybe he's probably starting to slow down now. Ian Garry's definitely got him at a good time. I still wonder whether this might be an upset. I keep picking against Ian because I just feel like sooner or later he's going to face some level of competition that's going to challenge him. And a lot of his fights aren't very memorable just because he is so technically sound and he wins fights the safe way. But I kind of wonder whether MVP is going to push him out of that safety box that he likes to work within and whether he might catch him. So I'm really looking forward to this fight. I'm actually picking Michael Page for the upset, although it could end up very one-sided from Ian Garry too. But I'm picking MVP, even though he's only had one fight in the UFC. I thought he fought really well, and even though people weren't happy with that fight, I was really impressed with what I saw. And Kevin Holland, he's a killer. He's no slouch. So I really wonder whether Ian Garry can bring something more or different that's really going to threaten MVP. So I am really looking forward to this fight. I think that it could be an upset indeed. So I'm going with Michael Page by stoppage, by a knockout, maybe in the second or third round. But I could be completely wrong. Next fight, we have MAYRA Silva versus MACY CHIASSON. So MAYRA Silva's just lost her title shot to Raquel Pennington. She had a no contest, so that was overturned. Originally, that was a sub over Holly Holm. And then she has a sub over someone that I don't really know too well in Lena Landsberg. So she's had a bit of a anticlimactic run recently. MACY CHIASSON, I think, really improved all round. She's looked really good in her last fight. She had that weird KO to Irene Aldana, which was a bit of a fluke, the up kick KO. She's been some solid names. I feel like she's really getting it together now, so I am favouring MACY CHIASSON to win this fight. MAYRA Silva, she is good and she's savage when she's turned on, but I think that she's a little chaotic and maybe needs to work on being a bit more calm and not so emotional in fights. I am favouring MACY just from a mental point of view. Yes, that's my pick. Also, they're both brown belt and BJJ, so I think skill-wise they're pretty equally matched, but I just think that MACY has that mental edge. So I'm picking MACY by decision. So this is the cursed light heavyweight slot. It's just changed so many times now. It's too much to keep track of. We've ended up with Anthony Smith versus Roman Dolidze. Roman Dolidze is a middleweight, by the way, so he's going to be a little bit undersized, and I think that plays well into Anthony Smith's favour. They're both 35, even though Anthony's had a lot more experience. He used to fight at middleweight, so he isn't the biggest light heavyweight, but his experience is a massive advantage, especially against these younger guys that don't have nearly as much, like especially the younger guys that haven't really fought beyond the top 10, top 5. I mean, Roman has. He has fought, Marvin Vettori, and he did beat Jack Hermanson, but he hasn't really beaten any of the top elite of his division, whereas Anthony, even though I guess Anthony hasn't either, but he's still a weight class up, and he does have that experience, so I think that he does have a bit of an advantage. He's well-rounded. Maybe Roman Dolidze is a bit hungrier, but he's also 35. Yeah, he's younger in his career. I feel like Anthony is going to make the most of this fight, and obviously I want Anthony to win, but I feel like Anthony's on a tear now, so I am favouring him to win. Another underdog pick for me. I think that Roman Dolidze is good, and like Anthony, he doesn't always show up either to a fight, but I feel like when it's the guys that are... I just think Anthony loses to the best guys, and he seems to clean up the rest of the divisions. I mean, he got caught against Khalil Roundtree, but I don't think Roman Dolidze is going to be able to knock him out. Yeah, I just think you need a big, scary guy that's going to threaten Anthony with a knockout. That's the only way you're going to really get him out at this stage, or someone who's got that massive athletic and size advantage, but I don't think Roman really has any of that. So yeah, I'm going with Anthony Smith here for the upset. Maybe by submission. I think more likely this will go to a decision though. Wow, this fight card really has been rebuilt from scratch. So we've got another short notice fight with Brian Ortega and Diego Lopez. I love the matchup. Old guy versus new guy, both super talented, both black belt in BJJ. Ortega's a bit more advanced as a first degree black belt. Ortega's a very tough test because he is tough. He's not going to give up. Lopez is pretty similar though. He's just the younger version, but more complete version in a way in terms of skill set. But Ortega just has this dog in him that it'll be hard to demoralize him in the fight. So this is going to be a really, really good fight. Lopez, even though he's 29, he has had a lot of experience, even though he hasn't been in the UFC all that long. And I do think that he is a future title contender, whereas Ortega's already fought for the belt twice. So it's really just a matter of whether this timing is right. I think Lopez probably should be the favorite, but I wouldn't count out Ortega. Maybe this fight should be more of a coin flip actually, because it's really hard to predict. Although I don't know if Lopez has been finished for quite some time. Let me see. Okay. Yeah, Lopez has only been finished earlier in his career, so it's been quite some time since he's been finished. So they're both going to be really hard to beat. This is a really good fight. Coin flip. If I had to pick anyone, I'd probably pick Lopez just because he's had probably less significant injuries, whereas I think Ortega's biggest downfall in his career is the injuries that he's had to overcome and work with, especially how easily he hurt his shoulder in that Yair Rodriguez first fight. He's probably had to do so much rehab, and I think it's hard to avoid injuries once they come. So just because of that alone, and because Diego Lopez is a bit fresher and younger, I am going with him maybe by decision, because I can't imagine either guy finishing the other unless it's an injury. So yeah, I'm going Lopez by decision. Okay, the main event. The rematch between Alex Pereira and Yuri Prochazka. Alex Pereira has been looking very good since he's won that belt, and even before that, but I have to give him credit. He's really performed well under very high pressure situations. The way he discarded Jamal Hill, shown that he is 100% lasered in. When he got hit in the balls, he used that to his advantage, and that's what a true warrior does. They don't give their opponent a second to reset, and even though it seems a bit dirty, I think it just shows how locked in he was, and that's dangerous. So yeah, he's looked amazing. He's difficult because he can just get you with one shot and finish it all, really. All of his opponents have been champions, the highest level, over middleweight and light heavyweight, and his only loss has been to Izzy, I think, in his run in the UFC, which is pretty impressive. And it's crazy because he's only had 12 professional fights in MMA. So it is quite remarkable what he's done. Even though he was favoured to begin with to get to the title to Izzy. It is quite incredible that he's racked up such an impressive resume. So I think he's rightfully the favourite. I think Yuri is a fun matchup for him again. The biggest disadvantage, though, is that Yuri does leave himself wide open. I think he just fights crazy. He fights the way he fights. He leaves himself open, but that means that he is more prone to getting hit But then if he does fight more defensively, he has to win the long fight. Maybe that's the way for him to go. But I think that Yuri fights at his best when he's reckless and crazy and out there. And sometimes throwing in the unusual stuff does catch Pereira, just because he is very technical as well. Yeah, maybe if Yuri can drag this out so it can go 5 rounds and try and just avoid danger in the first few rounds, that might be a really good tactic. But he's going to have to try and wear Proton out as well, because he's going to have more energy than what he did at middleweight. And at middleweight, Alex Pereira survived all his rounds against Izzy in the first fight, and then he knocked him out. So Pereira does know how to manage his cardio, unfortunately, unless Yuri has a really good way of exhausting him whilst staying out of danger. I think it's easier said than done. I think Pereira's just too dangerous, and he's improved his ground game, those positions against the cage, and who knows how good he is at jiu-jitsu now. Probably not too bad. So yeah, I'm favouring Pereira to get this one done. I hope it's a fun fight. I think it will be competitive and fun. It is short notice as well, so that will be interesting, because I kind of wonder how much time they've had to prepare and make up a new game plan. I think it's going to be really good. I'm still favouring Pereira, even though Yuri does have a chance. I think Proton's on a tear right now. It would be truly remarkable, though, I think, if Yuri can pull this off and win the belt again, just because Pereira really is looking good. But yeah, I've got Pereira by finish maybe in the 2nd or 3rd round. But yeah, I'm just hoping for a competitive fight. Yeah, thanks for coming by. I know I didn't cover the last event, Robert Whittaker getting the win. I mean, what do you expect? He is one of the best in the world, if not the best. He's right. There's Whittaker, Sean Strickland, Izzy and Dricus. I think they're all as good as one another on any given day. So it was really good, because I was getting a bit worried that it's always a bit of a shame when you have someone so great and then the opponent pulls out who they're meant to be facing, Hamzat in this example, and then you're put up against someone that hasn't even fought in the top 15 before. There's so much to lose. So it feels anyone can beat anyone on any given day, but when it's not deserved like that, it is a bit stressful and a bit, really. But also, it's how people break through as well. So that's why there is real danger. And Ikram is good, but he's just not experienced. He hasn't had time to develop to be who he could be. But it felt good to see him get schooled that way and show that there's levels. You can't just show up and be, complete. Even with his experience and skills, it takes so much time to get that experience in the cage, and at the highest levels, it's more about training. It's about the experience as well, and he knows that. But it just felt good to see Whittaker get that win, and someone who probably shouldn't have been in there, being shown that he shouldn't have been in there with him. So that was really great. I felt a bit bad for Pavlovich, but so good for Alexander Volkov getting that win. The way he fought was really amazing. I think Pavlovich was a little bit not mentally reset from his loss. I think that was a tough loss for him, because he was on such a tear when he lost to Tom Aspinall. I think it's probably going to take him a little while to get back to where he was mentally. It's very disappointing, but also he probably just needs to work on more than just boxing to hang around in the heavyweight division now, that with all the talent that's around. Someone like Alexander Volkov has been amazing to watch, because he's really improved over the past few years, where you just thought he was going to be someone who was just going to stay the same, but he's really improved and utilized his weapons so well and really developed as a fighter. So it's very interesting at heavyweight now. Yeah, I'm excited to see how all that goes. I'm excited to see who wins out of Tom Aspinall and Curtis Blades, because that was so disappointing when Tom just tore his knee. So I'm really looking forward to that too. But yeah, hopefully I will get a reaction video for this event. None of these fighters are really my favorites though, so it might be a bit different, but we'll see. It's hard to know how you're going to feel when you're watching a fight. But enjoy. Thanks for coming around, and thanks for the support. See you around the traps. Have a good week. Bye.